From the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina, I'm Brad Bell, and you are listening to Geeks with Wives and Capes, episode 106, despite what the title may say on YouTube. This is episode 106. I, of course, am Brad Bell, and joining me tonight, as always, the brilliant, the classic smartass, Mr. Casey Walsh. How are you doing, Casey?
What? What's going on, man?
I'm trying to survive this week, as you guys know.
I apologize. I made Brad has to get up at 5 in the morning. I was like, sorry, dude, you have to do a fucking podcast, and we haven't switched to time yet, so you gotta fucking trudge through it.
Yeah, in September we're moving up an hour. I think it'll help all of us East Coasters, all the people on the East Coast who help host from time to time, like Ashley and I. That would be a big help. But it's been a rough week. I'm a big Carolina Panthers fan. We lost their number one receiver in training camp this week to a non-contact injury. So
what's rule number one in Geeks with Wives and Capes?
You take a swig every time I mention sports. Some people say not to talk sports, but I can't help myself. I had to turn to some comics. I had to read some Gotham Central to kind of calm myself down and get distracted from that bad news. But other than that, I've been
real Gotham TV show. Everyone should be watching for reading, I guess.
For real, if you are judging that whole procedural, the MCU or Major Crimes Unit MCU, I'm talking about in Gotham, not the Marvel Cinematic Universe, by that terrible Fox TV show, do yourself a favor and read Ed Brubaker's Gotham Central and Greg Rucka's Gotham Central. Right, Casey?
Yep. That's where that show probably was birthed from, but it's done so much better. And yeah. Batman's actually there, like he's in the background still. It's a way cooler idea, and it makes the villains are there, and it all makes way more sense.
Yeah, and it's subtle. It's not Batman. You definitely know it's not Batman centric story, but
you're there.
But you know it is at least in the heart of Gotham with the Bat. Other than that, I'm going back to school here as a teacher, and I've been doing some back-to-school shopping myself, getting me some cool Under Armour polos, getting me a new pair of shoes, hopefully.
Are we really talking about your wardrobe now? We went from fucking the Carolina Panthers to wardrobe conversation? Unless there's a camp involved, let's move on.
Super Cam Newton, right? All right, well, let's move on to something that the people care about. I am proud.
After school shopping, maniac.
It's before school shopping, Casey.
Whatever, before school shopping.
All right, I'm proud to present our guest tonight. He runs the very successful, new but successful, prolific Twitter account, SuperBroMovies, at SuperBroMovies. We have Mr. Parker.
I'm glad to get that into it, guys. I really appreciate y'all having me on here tonight, honestly. And are we going to talk about wardrobe the whole time? Because that's going to be exciting.
Just the Fantastic Four wardrobe. Just Miles Teller's wardrobe.
All right. Okay.
Are we talking his wardrobe throughout all of his movies, or just in the Fantastic Four movie?
Just Fantastic Four, and we need to talk about Kate Mara, how she had a wig in one final shot and not a wig in another final shot of that film, which was just atrocious. But we've talked that film to death at this point.
I've been thinking. I think it was part of her superpowers. It's just not addressed. That her hair changes with her. No. Working on the hypothesis, but yeah, I don't know, guys.
I think the superpower is Josh Trank knows how to tank a movie for sure. He left that one in a bad place, and we did a whole Fantastic Four spoiler cast. I'm trying to move on away from the negativity.
Obviously not. You have some resentment stored up for Fantastic Four still, Brad, and you need to get it out.
I will. Well, maybe we'll get it out a little bit later in the podcast, because I think Parker recently saw Fantastic Four. So, Parker, tell us a little bit about SuperBroMovies. What kind of is the goal, the mission statement, if you will? What sets you apart from other sites, other Twitter feeds that cover film news these days?
Well, first, Brad, I have a question for you.
All right.
Is Is it okay if I'm on this podcast if I don't have a wife or a cape? I mean, I'm wearing a blanket as a cape. Is that cool?
That is absolutely fine. That is probably our number one question people ask. Can I read this if I don't have a wife? Can I read this if I don't have a cape? And we do have a lot of cosplayers who have capes, but no, Geeks with Wives is an outlet for everybody, no matter if you have a wife or a cape. So you're
Okay,
good,
okay.
Parker. You're good.
Good to know. Okay, just checking. I didn't want any confusion later on. So
I
basically,
think we're at people with more. We have people with more people with not without wives than with wives at this point. I think that write for Geeks with Wives. Brad, is that true? I think
Uh,
so.
Yeah, we probably do at this point, and I think divorce lawyers have been involved in some of that with the amount of time that we spend talking about superhero news. That may have had something to do with that, but uh, no, just totally joking there. But Parker, on to you. Tell us about this very successful, albeit new thing that you're doing with SuperBroMovies.
okay, so I'm just gonna take y'all back to the beginning. So me as a person, you can't tell I'm super into movies, mostly superhero movies. And my friends were getting annoyed that, I wanted to talk about this all the time when they don't care. They'd much rather go fish or go hunt.
Well, you
So,
are in Texas, right? So there's a lot
yes,
of fishing and hunting
yes,
going
sir.
on.
And I do both, don't get me wrong. But, um, so I got with a close friend of mine who I would vent to almost about these news and stuff. I was like, hey, man, we should start our own. So we started our own. We were originally Daily Hero News. But then I was like, you know what? I don't want to be the news person. I don't want to just focus on the news. I want to focus on kind of the community more and just talk about the news. So we were brainstorming new names, and I was like, bro, I can't think of a name. And he's like, I got it, bros. So we ended up settling on Super Bro Movies. And the whole pitch for the thing is movies for your average bro. We talk about it, we discuss it with our followers. I love my followers, or I call them my bros. I DM with them all the time. We bring up news topics, we discuss them, we review whatever we're watching. Really, like I'll pop in a movie I have on my shelf, and we'll talk about it. And it's just kind of we don't want to be super pretentious or super newsy because like a lot of these pages out there are. We just kind of like to kind of hang out and chill. It's for your average bro. It's not for anything super crazy.
And I think that's a very good way to do things, to reach back out to your community and open up a dialogue with your community, because you can go on 4 to 100 sites a day, and whatever the major film story, if they're making episode 7, if anybody moves on the set of Rogue One, you're going to read about it, right? At some point,
Exactly.
you're regurgitating news from like Entertainment Weekly or the Hollywood Reporter. That's all you're doing. So you have to set yourself apart, and it looks like that's what you guys are doing.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I do post the news stories when they break as soon as I can. I'm a busy guy, and I'm not always super active with my followers as I should be. Like, I'm gonna plug somebody who's actually watching right now, Agent Dorian. Guys, go check him out. He's super interactive with his followers. He's brought on my team. But then getting on my team, it's crazy because I've made these few friends, Marvelpedia, Agent Dorian, Joshua Ho, Avram from Hero Haven, and I don't know these people. I've never met these people yet. We talk every day, usually every hour, and we talk about our personal lives. And I'm like, this is crazy that I start this small page. I'm making these close personal connections with people that I feel like I'm going to talk to for a very long time that I've never met before. And that's what the goal of my thing is, kind of branch out there. I DM 3 followers a day, and we just have this conversation. I see how they're doing. And it's really great knowing that I can make a difference in these people's lives while talking about what I love.
Yeah, and that is the way to approach it, because I think it's probably better to have, let's say, 30,000, 10 or 30,000 super dedicated followers than just 100,000 followers. And the perfect example of this, I bring these guys up a lot, and they gave us a plug at RTX, is like Greg Miller, Colin Moriarty, those guys with Kinda Funny. They don't have the most followers. There's bigger sites, but their followers will do anything for them. They invest in them. They care about their followers. Their followers care about them, and it's paid off tremendously. And it sounds like you got a very similar model to that.
Don't get me wrong, I'd love to grow more because I think I could really branch out and help people and just discuss. Um, it's kind of crazy actually because I was told when I started my page from some bigger, higher up people that I was never going to get this big, and I've just gotten bigger and bigger, and I'm just like today, no lie, I tweeted anybody good with math because I was stuck on a math problem, and within 3 seconds somebody DM'd me. I was like, hey, do you need help? I'm just like, that's crazy because like it might be stupid, but it's weird how I've made these connections with people, and I know these followers by name. I know personal information about them. I know what they do. I know, like, I'll look up, like, I follow all my followers, or at least I try to. And, like, I'll search on my timeline. If anybody says they're sad or depressed, I'm like, hey, man, what's up? You're awesome, kind of thing. Because, I mean, that's what we need to be doing as a community is building each other up instead of trying to take each other down, which some people on the internet seem to do.
Yeah, definitely. And they hide behind the internet just to be even worse people than they would ever be to your face. That's definitely a problem. Even when you're just talking about something like Star Wars or superhero stuff.
Exactly. And like, if you haven't noticed, if any of y'all follow me, I do go on rants against these people, and I'll call people out because that's the kind of person I am. Like, I don't really take anything.
Stuff, Lord of the Rings stuff. I mean, you walk around and you will see the youth of America wearing Captain America, Ninja Turtles, a Batman shirt, basically every corner you turn.
And I love that. It's not weird anymore. Like 10 years ago, if you'd be like, I'm going to go watch, let's think of a movie, the original Fantastic Four, they'd be like, why? But nowadays, you're like, I'm going to go watch Avengers. And everybody's like, oh, sweet. Tell me how it is. It's kind of, that's awesome. Like the everyday person. That's why I love my page because I'm trying to support that whole theory that we're all into this nowadays. It's kind of our culture almost.
And like the superhero film has become its own subgenre, almost like the Western. Yeah, the Western was an action film, but the Western became its own subgenre. And I think that's what superhero films have become at this point. Something that I don't know if worry is the right word, but something that we often discuss is when or if the superhero bubble will burst, specifically relating to movies. And of course, with what you do, with what we do, we hope that never happens. We love this stuff. We're going to continue to talk about it, talk to our listeners and our followers about it, no matter what. Do you think that superhero films are too big to fail right now?
Honestly, after Fantastic Four, it did prove us that they can fail if they're not done right. It has to be done right with the right hands of people who care. And 10 years from now, I hope this is still going because honestly, I love it, and that's what I want to do with my life. Like, that's my goal is to be a superhero movie director or just a movie director in general. That's what I'm building my page up towards to make connections and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you talk about your goal to actually get into directing, and I think, my friend, you have chosen the perfect time to venture on that. It's going to be a tough journey, but it's not impossible. When you see films that are shot on GoPros winning awards at Sundance and a TIFF and even smaller film festivals around the country, all of a sudden you have these directors like Colin Trevorrow directing a Sundance darling like Safety Not Guaranteed, and then he's directing Jurassic World, and then the new Star Wars Episode 9 years and years from now. Talk about that. Like, does that make you more optimistic than you would have been, say, 25 years ago, that these people have paved the path for people to do what you want to do?
Yeah, it makes me happy because it's showing that if you're dedicated, it's not like you're gonna get it, but it seems like we're getting more of a chance. Me as a person who doesn't have many connections, like honestly, like I have a few, and I'm making more of my page, but I'm still really trying to push myself into this like job market.
Let's talk like hypotheticals. All right, let's say best case scenario, the page keeps growing. You work your way into Hollywood. You work your way up. and I want to talk about how you want to do that maybe, but everybody's journey is going to be different, obviously. But you're handed uh, a superhero film eventually. All right.
Okay.
You made a smaller film. Let's say something like Josh Trank. Josh Trank made a small film.
Probably a bad example. Let's pick another example, Brad.
Josh Trank is probably a very bad example. But
the story's gonna end up with Parker in a house, hooked up on meth, beating up hookers, and
letting his dogs rip the
house
to shreds.
A terrible movie.
And box like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Josh Trank's never coming on the show. Sorry, Josh.
I have a legit question to spin out of this build-up. Do you think that these directors who have directed small movies like Chronicle, like Safety Not Guaranteed, should be handed these $150 million, $250 million franchises? Or should maybe studios be more careful with their money? In the case of Josh Trank, it didn't work. In the case of Colin Trevorrow, it did. But I'm asking you to kind of try to step outside of the role of future filmmaker. If you're a studio head, why would you give that money to somebody who's relatively unproven?
I think they shouldn't give anything to anybody that doesn't deserve it. And honestly, y'all don't like Fantastic Four, but Josh Trank, I feel like they made a good choice. It just turned out bad. Like, because Chronicle was awesome. I think.
Agree? I agree. I absolutely love Chronicle. I
feel like he proved himself with Chronicle, but then kind of bended under the pressure of this multi-million-dollar budget. But I'm trying to think of a way to word this. In indie films, they build people, but some people, like Josh Trank, work better in the indie films, but can't handle this multi-million-dollar. I already said that, but
it's all right.
No one should be handed something just because you did one good thing. You need to earn it. They need to hear your pitch. They need to see what you're going to do to make them better, not just be like, oh, you made one good indie film, here you go, here's $100 million. Especially with these properties that people are so passionate about, you need to get the best guy for the job.
And the reason I kind of bring this up when I'm discussing this, when George Lucas was making the original Star Wars trilogy and Spielberg was helping him produce it, and vice versa when Spielberg was doing Indiana Jones and Lucas was helping him produce it, this was when the tent poles first started coming around. Spielberg directed the first ever blockbuster, Jaws. Jaws is considered the first ever summer blockbuster.
As I say, you say Jaws all day.
Jaws, which is my wife's favorite movie, as everybody knows that listens to this podcast. But they kind of ushered in the blockbuster era. This is what we call tent poles. All right, you build a franchise, you spin films out of it, you make these great series based on these fantastic characters that you can continue to market till pretty much the end of time. But they warned, and this is back in the mid-'80s, that the blockbuster film, the tentpole model, will eventually bankrupt Hollywood. That eventually studios are going to become so reliant on blockbusters that one's going to fail, then another's going to fail, and they're going to keep trying to make their money back, that eventually one of the major studios will fail. So I think that's kind of the fear, especially when you look at somewhere like Sony, where the Spider-Man movies failed, and then of course you had the hack and all that. So maybe Sony had it a little harder than what I'm trying to reference here. But I think what a lot of people are afraid that the superhero movies will kind of be the thing that brings one of these big studios down. Now, we all know Disney's safe for the rest of time at this point, but a studio like Fox, a studio like Sony, is that something that you're wary of at all?
If they give us good movies, people are going to go see it. When they give us shit like Fantastic Four and Wolverine Origins, when the studio takes over too much, that's when you need to make your directors make your movie, not need to be boss them around, and that's when you're going to get a bad movie. get a bad movie, get bad box office, and that's I think what's killing these studios. That's why Disney and Warner Brothers seems like they have it pretty down pat because they have their plan. They're getting people who are going to do a good job, and obviously we're getting good movies. So,
do you think Warner Brothers has it down pat though? I'm a big DC fan. Like I'm probably the biggest DC fan, definitely that ever rotates in on this podcast. Everybody else is Marvel zombies for sure, but DC is a perfect example. They had.
Hey. I'm an image zombie. Thank you very much. All right.
Yeah, he is an image zombie. Yeah, he actually reads good comics. What can I say? Comics that make him really think and reflect on his life. But I like spandex. I'm not apologizing for that. However, they have all this mapped out with all their films. I mean, they are committed. They got the stars locked in, and Man of Steel was a success. It wasn't the huge blockbuster that everybody hoped it would be, on par with something like The Dark Knight, but it was successful. What if Wonder Woman or Shazam or Justice League fails and they're so invested that they keep making the films? Like, I just wonder if they would know when to get out. And I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I pray and hope that all these movies are successful. I just like to get somebody's point of view on it who is garnering such a following as you. What do you think, Parker?
That's a really good question, man. Shoot.
Here, let me jump in here, Brad.
Go ahead, Casey.
I think number one, I think Warner Brothers is a bad example because I think as soon as one of those movies bombed, they would fucking drop it like a hot rock. We've seen them do that before, and they did it with Oh yeah, they did it with Batman. And that's their biggest franchise ever. And I honestly do think it's going to happen with them because Aquaman is a huge question mark. Number one, that movie is going to be probably one of the most expensive comic book movies ever made because of the water element.
But and James Wan, though.
Yeah, James Wan's a huge plus about it. But Aquaman is a character who struggles in the comic books to gain a fan base. Imagine what it's going to be like for him to gain a fan base in a mainstream audience. It's going to be extremely difficult. Now, they do have two things on their side, Jason Momoa and James Wan. But that being said, it's still a huge obstacle for them to overcome. And if you thought Guardians of the Galaxy was a hard movie to adapt, an Aquaman movie is going to be fucking impossible.
Have you played in have y'all played Injustice?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I think to save them money, I don't know what they're doing. They should do similar to how Aquaman was portrayed in that. Like the city's in bubbles. I think that could save them a lot of money instead of just going straight underwater, which I think would look a little stupid on a movie.
You guys are forgetting
I guarantee
one
you
thing.
They're going to do that. You're Parker, you're totally right. That's what they're going to do. It'll be giant sets. It'll be like Thor underwater. There we go. That's what's going to happen. Never mind. Okay, Warriors over.
You're welcome.
Guys, there's nothing to worry about. Aquaman's a proven commodity. Vinny Chase opened this movie to $106 million. Record opening with James Cameron directing.
Yeah, but
remember,
the key word there is not Vinny Chase. It's James Cameron, my friend.
I know.
If James Cameron was making an Aquaman movie, I'd fucking be in line right now.
Did you? I know Casey watched. Did you watch Entourage, Parker?
Yes, I have.
Okay, yeah, great show. Yeah, I love that season when they're
great
making
show. I would not say great show.
I mean, it's a great bro show.
It's a watchable show. It's a watchable show that makes you feel good when each episode is over.
Have y'all watched?
It's kind of like an orgasm. It's fun. Like the doing it's fun, but the end's really good, and then you really don't give a shit about it after in the next 30-20 minutes.
Have you guys watched Ballers yet on HBO?
Love Ballers.
Great show. It is Entourage with the NFL. And
really?
That's really all it is. That's the best way to describe it. And Casey, you're not a big football fan, but you still enjoy it, right?
Yeah, but there's a lot of boobies on it, so that's how I get my fix on the Ballers.
Yeah, so it don't take too much to draw Casey in, but it's definitely a great show. I can't.
The Rock is great. The Rock's fantastic. I love Rob Corddry.
Yeah.
And the wife enjoys it, so it's a show we both can kind of get into. But yeah, the football element of it is not really a factor. It's more of the how stupid athletes are is what's really entertaining.
I just want to see if that one dude's gonna get that contract with the Cowboys. That's what I
No,
I just can't wait.
Friend in his head.
God.
He needs to just shoot his friend. That's if I was The Rock in that situation, I would just bring a 9mm to our next meeting. No one knows what we're talking about except me and Brad. I would just bring a 9mm to our next meeting and just
Reggie, that's the guy's name.
Yeah, and just blow away that best friend and be like, okay, can we just move on with our lives now because everything is gonna be much easier from this point on.
But that's the sad truth. Being somebody who's followed the NFL and read a few books on it, just so many hangers-on of people and athletes, and it happens with movie stars too, that just suck those guys dry. And just they're rich, but they spend that money exponentially. And the sad truth is, a lot of these athletes, by the time they're out of the league, they're broke. They're broke, despite getting $60 to $100 million over the course of their contracts. But that's enough about contracts. Let's get back to
everybody.
Let's get back to SuperBroMovies here and our guest Parker. So, Parker, what is the journey in your head? I know it's going to change and evolve as you go through time, but how do you make the jump from a very successful person covering movie news and discussing it and open up a dialogue with your followers to getting behind the director's chair?
I have a plan right now, but it might not work out. But, it's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm about to go to school for 4 years, getting a degree.
Is it in film?
That's a huge mistake. Let me tell you right there. Let's back up that train.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, and then after school, I want to maybe pair up with a director that I maybe made a relationship with on the page. I've talked to a few, and kind of just be maybe an assistant, or, for lack of better words, a bitch boy. And you just kind of follow them around set, learn the set, and when they get offered a movie, maybe they'll be like, "Yo, Parker, help me make this movie. I'll give you the reins. It's a smaller movie. You can do it. You give me your ideas," and just kind of build from there.
And then write comics, because that happens sometimes, right? And then we'll have you on as a great writer for DC or Marvel.
Every comic writer we've ever talked to, their story is, well, I started working in the movie industry. And then this happens.
Make y'all do it. If I'm ever a movie director, I'll remember y'all, and I will come back on, no matter how big I am, I will come back on your podcast.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
That's what they all say. We'll still be here. We'll be 50 years old, geeks with wives and grandkids, but we'll be here.
I will just hit me up. It will happen.
Now, the reason I said that actually was, do you ever listen to the podcast? I know Casey does. Parker, have you ever listened to Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man on Batman?
I have. He's kind of a good example of, I know he's made some terrible movies, but he's a good example of how he's gotten.
Hey, I love Mallrats. I love Mallrats.
Okay.
But he had Kyle Higgins on there. Kyle Higgins is the guy who wrote Nightwing and the New 52. He wrote Gates of Gotham. And Kyle Higgins, took your exact path. He went to school wanting to be a director, or your exact described path. And he actually got a job being an errand boy for Richard Donner. Richard Donner is the guy who directed the first Superman film.
Okay.
Directed Lethal Weapon, and he developed a close bond with Richard Donner, and Richard Donner helped him get in good with
Wait, don't you mean Jeff Johns?
No, this is Kyle Higgins.
No.
Yeah,
that's Jeff Johns.
Well, Jeff Johns did this too, but Kyle, are you sure? I will double check this.
That's Jeff Johns' story. He's best friends with Richard Donner and with his errand boy, and got up in the ranks that way.
Well, maybe I got them confused. Kyle Higgins and Jeff Johns. Because they both were on Fat Man on Batman. That's a good podcast, by the way. I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. You should.
Speaking of Josh Trank, he has a 3-parter on there. Makes him sound like a complete lunatic.
Yeah.
So go check that one out.
That was supposed to be 4 parts, Casey. That's the thing. That whole Josh Trank interview with Batman on Batman, but he has not come back for that 4th part. So who knows if
I
he
thought they
ever
recorded
will.
it all in one sitting.
No, he came back for it, and I don't think he's coming back
Once
for
again,
that
I'm
4th
talking about
part.
something that no one else,
But,
no one.
but anyway.
Yeah.
It says Kyle took an internship with the Donner's company. The unpaid position provided Kyle the opportunity to work with Richard Donner. That's via Wizard World. So I don't. Maybe Jeff Johns worked with him
Oh,
too.
they have the same story then, exact same story.
Well, okay, so that's a perfect example. It happened twice. These guys, very talented. Jeff Johns pretty much runs DC Comics. They got in with Donner, who was big at Warner Brothers, which Warner Brothers owns DC, and the rest with those two is history. Are you hell-bent on film, or would you kind of go where, things took you?
I'm gonna go where things take me. I love entertaining. I've always loved. I've loved movies since as long as I can remember. Some of my favorites when I was a kid were Jurassic Park, the original.
Yeah, for sure.
Every kid wanted to be a paleontologist, and I was the perfect example.
I wanted nothing to do with dinosaurs after that fucking movie.
So you were the kid from the beginning of Jurassic Park, huh? Where he takes the Velociraptor claw and scares the hell out of him.
Yes.
Yeah, you were the kid that everybody theorized grew up to be Chris Pratt in that bullcrap fan theory. I don't know if you saw that floating around the internet.
I'm starting to just ignore fan theories, dude. I mean, there was Jason Todd as Joker, and that one kind of...
Oh, no, my friend.
That jumped the shark.
I think that one may be becoming more... Did you see the pictures of, like... Brad, I'm going to fucking kill you with that laugh track. Did you see the pictures of the side-by-side where, like, there's these 2 scars on Joker's, like, shoulders? And there's two holes in the bat suit, like the Robin suit and the Superman trailer in the same spot.
Oh man, anything is Scott. I said Scott Snyder. Is Zack Snyder? Scott's I think is more talented. Is Zack Snyder that smart to pull that off?
He loves the comics too much. He's going straight.
I think it's interesting. Like I wouldn't be upset. Like as long as it's like I said, like Parker said, as long as it's a good movie. Like I wouldn't be fiercely upset. It would be weird to have a world where there's essentially 2 Jokers now. Like there would have been 2 Jokers. That's the weird part. Go ahead, Parker.
First of all, Red Hood's one of my favorite characters, just in general, and I'd be extremely upset as a fan of Red Hood. And then the second thing is, I believe Jared Leto is actually 2 months older than Ben Affleck. I mean, you can't have a Jason Todd that's older than Bruce Wayne. And that theory is just complete bogus. I'm sorry. You may like it, but we can disagree.
No, I'm not saying I like it. I'm saying it would be interesting. Like I wouldn't be mad if that's what came out to be true. At least they would be trying something crazy.
Yeah, it's different, and it would kind of. I'm not
better than that fucking video game. God damn it.
Are we talking about that already, Kate?
I was just playing that before I actually joined y'all's podcast.
I won't say anything, but
I mean, I know what happens, but I kind of figured it out from the first time that character showed up.
Parker, have you finished it yet? Do you know the big? Okay, so spoiler alert if you haven't played Arkham Knight, because this pisses me off. The whole marketing behind that fucking game, the whole marketing, even Jeff Johns came out and said this is a brand new character. It's a character. It's never been introduced in the Batman universe before. Blah 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 blah. And then it ends up being fucking Jason Todd, like we all fucking knew it was gonna fucking be Jason Todd. Like no one had any anything holding back saying that it wasn't going to be Jason Todd. Every single person that knew anything about Batman and that story and the Arkham Knight and his story knew it was going to end up being Jason Todd. So why I don't know. That just made me so mad. Like they could have done anything. They could have there was a theory out there that was like a clone of Bruce Wayne. That would have been way more interesting than fucking Jason Todd.
I mean, I had 2 great theories in my opinion. I posted these on the page. One of them was that it was a younger Ra's al Ghul, because at Arkham City at the end he dies. He could get regened, maybe younger, hence why it was younger in the trailers. And he modernized the league, and that would have made sense. I think that would have been really cool. Or my other one was the Bruce Wayne clone by Amanda Waller and stuff like that. And that would have been also cool. But I love Red Hood. I was excited to see him. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't done bad in the game that it was Jason Todd. It was just the fact that it was Jason Todd was the bad part.
Right, and they should have just made it the Red Hood. Like, I would have been much more excited to play a game where I knew the villain was the Red Hood.
Yeah, same.
Way more excited.
It would have been so much better.
Way better.
The real villain of the game is the Batmobile. The Batmobile. The Batmobile. I mean, Batman he can't take a crap without the freaking Batmobile. It's like, we need to find a way to get the Batmobile in here and pull this lever. I mean, it gets so monotonous.
That was my biggest complaint of the game, how forced they did the Batmobile. Like, I find myself gliding still, because the gliding is just so beautiful in that game, and they made it so you can glide so much faster, too. The Batmobile was cool.
I feel like they did the Batmobile because everyone had stolen their combat idea, so like nothing about that game would have been original. Like and the problem is, like, when reviewing games, like a big thing that reviewers kind of harp on is like originality and like pushing games forward. So like that game without the Batmobile is just another Batman game. Like there would have been nothing new about it.
I call bullshit that he has the freaking Batwing flying around that's doing impossible turns across buildings. They even comment on that. Why isn't he flying the Batwing around? Take the tanks out a lot easier, get places faster. He had it. It was fine.
I had the same thought.
That's what all my friends said. Yeah, but that Nemesis system that like Shadow of Mordor used too, that combat was so amazing, but it's kind of been played out at this point. I love it. It's smooth, it's beautiful, but anyway, this isn't the games podcast, guys.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about that theory just real quick. I just want to comment one thing. The only thing I like about that Jason Todd as Joker theory is it separates any comparisons with kind of Heath Ledger's Joker and having to live up to that, because it's a completely different character. It's Jason Todd. It's not the Joker. But I'm a purist. I don't want it to be Jason Todd. I want it to be Joker. So anyway, all right, back to, so tell us a little bit about this is so prolific. Like, you just started this. When did you start your Twitter feed?
March? Yeah, solid March.
March. How? I mean, you don't have to reveal your secrets, obviously, but what has been behind this just massive following? 16.6 thousand followers.
To be completely honest with you, in the beginning, I would follow people that would mention superheroes, like if they tweeted about it, if they mentioned it, or follow people from other accounts. But now it's just all natural, dude. It's growing. Like, I get about 100 a day, just natural followers, and it's just crazy.
That's impressive. We don't have that many, and my phone lights up all the time with people on Twitter and stuff like that. What's that like? How has your life changed now that you're getting texts almost from all these strangers?
Annoy my family. I'm on my phone a lot more.
I bet so. Because when I started doing Geeks with Wives, my wife's like, "Put your phone down. Put your phone down."
Yeah, that's about it. I love it though, because it keeps me from making stupid mistakes by texting people too much or anything. Like, I'm kind of just focused on making my followers as happy as possible.
So you mentioned Jurassic Park. Obviously, that's one of your favorite films.
Hands down.
So what are kind of like the top 5 favorite or films that have impacted or influenced you in your love of cinema?
Jurassic Park, for sure, is probably number 1. I loved all the original campy, like Spider-Man 1 through 3.
Sam Raimi.
Yeah, but I feel like they influenced me, but now that I watch them, I see they're flawed and dated. If you watch them recently, they are very dated.
Except for Spider-Man 2, that's still one of the greatest superhero films of all time. Anybody that wants to debate that, I'll be glad to, but I love Spider-Man 2, Parker.
For another time, we can. Predator, Aliens, those classics were awesome. They're sitting on my shelf right now. A recent one that I loved is actually Kingsman.
That was really good. That's probably still that church scene's probably the best shot of this year. Continuous shot for sure.
Oh, actually, best continuous shot. Do you watch Daredevil?
Yeah, that
Episode
second
two.
episode.
Episode two, end of you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That.
absolutely. Oh man, I love that church scene, but that is definitely that Daredevil was impressive, man.
But this year, I feel like we've had at this point, I've had 5 movies this year that I've loved a lot, and I feel like I'm gonna watch for a long time.
What are they? You mentioned
Uh,
Kingsman.
Kingsman, Jurassic World, Avengers 2, Ant-Man, and Southpaw.
Ugh, Avengers 2. Ugh.
I mean,
You don't like it?
I like it,
It's not that I
but
don't like it. I just if okay, so I've seen no joke. I've seen every Marvel movie 20 times at least.
Oh,
And
same,
Guardians of the
dude.
Galaxy at least 50 probably at this point. Like Avengers 2 and I've seen Avengers 2 multiple times. It's almost shot for shot. Or beat for beat Avengers 1. Like, exactly. And it's not by any means a bad film. Like like Marvel has got their film shit down now, and now I'm like kind of expecting a little bit more from them. Like yes, you can make a good superhero movie, but can you make a great one? And the thing that they've really not nailed down yet is the villain thing. And I really thought Ultron was way underused, way underutilized, and just not as scary as he really should have been. Like he should have, like the whole world should have been fearing of Ultron, and the Avengers should have been kind of more fearing of Ultron. And I really never got that sense.
Casey.
I agree with you. My 2 big flaws with that movie is the Black Widow Hulk. I mean, it wasn't done bad, but it was so stupid that it was being done in the first place. That whole relationship, and then Ultron. Like Ultron's one of my favorite MCU villains we've gotten, but Ultron in the comics is one of my favorite villains. Period. And he is nothing like the comic. It's a completely different character, but I still love him as a villain. I think they did him well. It's just he's not comic Ultron. He's not that big badass who can take on. I feel like he couldn't have taken on the whole of the Avengers at the same time, and that's what hurt me the most.
The question
Yeah,
is,
I agree. And I think, like I said, I think what's really hurting the Marvel universe is like that really great villain. Like we've had Loki, and Loki's been good, like great so far, but there's never been really anyone that kind of surpassed him. And I think like the problem is, I think if Doom was in the picture, like Doom would be that character. Like Doom is a villain, like people could really get behind.
Would y'all mind if I kind of went on maybe a little rant for the Marvel villains real quick?
go ahead.
Go for it.
Take the
So
floor.
Loki and Bucky were they're both awesome, but I don't feel either one of them as a villain. Like when I do my top 5 villains, they're not on it because they're not villains to me. I love the characters. My number 1 villain would have to be Kingpin from Daredevil. He was awesome. That was crazy. But I hate how they underutilize their villains so much, and like they get one scene towards them in the middle of the movie, and then they're never mentioned. They're barely mentioned again. Like they're doing the heroes right, they need to work on the villains. And I think, yeah, Doom would be awesome, but they don't have him. I think, as a community, we need to stop. We need to get over that because it doesn't look like Fox is giving up Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah,
But
never gonna happen.
I feel like Baron Zemo can be Doctor Doom.
That's big.
Yeah, but see, he has the biggest mountain to climb. Like, of all the villains we've seen so far that they couldn't accomplish, Baron Zemo, and I said this on the last podcast, he has the biggest mountain to climb now because he has to share this movie with every fucking superhero in the Marvel Universe, and all the coolest ones at that. You know what I mean? Like,
You know who could be Doctor Doom?
Don't forget, when Daniel Bruhl was cast, they said he was in Civil War and played a big part in Doctor Strange.
Kang the Conqueror could be Doctor Doom, but they don't own the film rights to him either.
Freaking Fox, dude. I hate Fox.
Fox locked him up in the Fantastic Four deal, even though I think Kang's first appearance was in Avengers #8, so I'm still trying to figure that one out.
He's related to Reed and Sue, like he's like a great-great-grandson or something like that.
Okay.
I think that's what's also I don't think it's the Fantastic Four that's gonna keep Fox from giving that shit back to Marvel. I think it's all the other characters that go along with it. Because like you're talking the Skrulls, and you're talking Super Skrull, and you're talking all those weird alien races that kind of go along with it. Like the Badoon were part of that part of that deal. So I think that's why
Silver Surfer,
Fox.
Galactus, and Silver
Galactus.
Surfer.
Like there was a deal going around early when all this stuff was starting, where they just wanted Silver Surfer and Galactus. Like they didn't even want the Fantastic Four, and they
were gonna let them keep Daredevil for Galactus and Silver Surfer.
Yep, and they wouldn't do it.
And now I bet you Fox is beating the shit out of themselves because Daredevil is a successful Netflix show. It's on its second season, and they can't sell the Fantastic Four, the longest running superhero team ever.
It's a damn shame. It really is. It really is.
Doctor Doom, if done right, could be like a Darth Vader level style villain. He inspired Darth Vader, for Christ's sakes. But I don't know what's so hard about him. He could be a great, crazy villain. And I think Baron Zemo could live up to that, because when you think about it, he does go after magic. He does go after science. And a while back, there was like a leaked plot details for Civil War. I don't know if they were true, but the way they described Baron Zemo sounded pretty freaking awesome. And hopefully he's not the average Marvel villain. But that's just me.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's my favorite. Like, he's my favorite Captain America villain. He's right behind Doctor Doom. I love Baron Zemo to death, and that's what my worry though. Is like I said, he's sharing this movie with basically Avengers 2.5, and he has to like show that he's this badass villain on top of all these other like badass characters. Like it's gonna be a tough road for him. Like if you think Ultron had it hard, like he has it extra hard.
So, who I think they dropped the ball? They dropped the ball with Red Skull. He was terrible, and Hugo Weaving was talking so much smack about the movie after. He's not coming back.
Yeah, I think Hugo Weaving dropped the ball with Red Skull, because I think the problem with that one is, too, he did such a good job with it that, like, putting someone else in that role would be super distracting, and it'd be really hard to do. Like, because they left that door open. Like, he is poised to come back at some point.
Hey, let me put something in your mind. Christoph Waltz as Red Skull.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I don't think he would do it, though.
I think he would do it.
He's not getting that makeup, son.
Okay. I was so adamant that I thought Robert Redford was going to be Red Skull. He's going to rip off a mask at the end.
I know. No, not even that. They could have just had him, like, have you read The Winter Soldier?
Yes, that's what I was thinking too. Like,
yeah, they could have had him look, like, in a reflection somewhere and just had, like, the Red Skull, like, looking back at him. Like, that would have been, that's all they had to do.
In the movie, they stand there and they put the camera on his dead body for the longest time, and I was just expecting him to just pick up and rip off a mask. I was waiting for that. Like, the whole movie, I thought that was coming.
Besides Loki, Robert Redford's probably the best villain in the MCU. I think he was a great villain.
Did y'all like Yellow Jacket?
He was generic. He seemed a lot to me like Ironmonger in the first Iron Man.
Yeah,
just the
I agree. He was just weird.
Character.
It didn't there's like a scene cut out where like he went crazy somewhere because like he just snaps all of a sudden. Like he seems like this normal guy and all of a sudden he just like goes crazy. So
his scenes,
I felt like there was a part of everything.
His scenes I really did like a lot. It's just he did stuff from the whole underdevelopment, and that fight scene was crazy. And his scream when he got in the bug zapper, spoiler, was awesome. And he was a force. He was in that bedroom. I was scared. Like, he was scary, and I think he was one of their better done villains. And that's saying something because he was super underdeveloped.
I think my problem with him was, though, I watched The Strain, so I always kept thinking, like, when the fucking vampire is going to show up? But this guy's going to, like...
I kept thinking he was going to kill a hooker because of House of Cards.
Oh.
I kept thinking. So I always thought it's Peter Russo. Yeah, House of Cards is great. But I got one more question for y'all on the Marvel front before we move on to Week in Geek. Now, they've made great superhero movies, but will Marvel ever make like a truly great film? And I think to do that, they will have to have a memorable villain. The Dark Knight is not just a good superhero film. It's a good film in general. It's a commentary of the times. It's reflective of it, like that whole heightened security, liberty versus security thing. And I know Winter Soldier is that too, but Dark Knight was kind of the first to do it in the superhero films.
I think their greatest films, like as a whole, have to be Iron Man and Winter Soldier.
I think I'd agree with that.
Like, the Avengers movies are amazing, and they're my top 5 movies of all time. It's just they aren't. Let's be honest here, they're not great films, but they don't have to be. Avengers: Age of Ultron, I sit down and I watch it, and I'm enjoyed the whole time. I love seeing these characters interact. But when you get to their solo movies, when you get to tell the good stories.
when the MCU's done, will there be let's say, who knows if it ever's going to end? Let's say after Infinity War Part 2, all right? Will there be a villain that was as memorable as Heath Ledger's Joker?
Ooh.
Well, Thanos is going to get 2 movies.
They're building him up for 10 years.
Yeah, so he better be a badass.
It's Josh Brolin, and I don't think Josh Brolin's going to drop the ball. Like that character, like Parker said, they've been teasing that character for so long, and it's finally going to come to a head. People are going to go crazy. Like Thanos is going to become like the biggest thing I think since Darth Vader, and that's going to be his biggest challenge too. Because I mean, you can check when Rogue One comes out, Brad, but like at some point Marvel or Disney is going to be competing with itself. It feels like
December 2016. Rogue One's a December Christmas time movie.
It comes out way before.
All with Thanos, people will riot.
And here's the thing, though. You're gonna have first you're gonna have Apocalypse, then you're gonna have Thanos, then you're gonna have Darkseid. They're all very similar villains, big bads. Like, are people going to be tired of seeing big purple guys by that point?
I don't think Apocalypse is going to make anybody happy from what I've seen and what I've heard. I'm disappointed by that. Are y'all on board with that one, or?
I have to see it.
Okay, so we all have to admit we were wrong about Quicksilver. So I'm gonna hold my tongue until the movie comes out on that one, because I don't want to be wrong again.
Y'all like Days of Future Past?
I love it.
I do too.
That Quicksilver scene is a masterpiece. Huh?
Okay, well, my thing is X-Men First Class is in my top 5 superhero movies, and that was an amazing movie.
I agree.
Past kind of dropped the ball for me. I felt boring.
Well, see, to Brad's point though, I think Days of Future or X-Men First Class has something to say. It's more of it's on the realm of good superhero film where it's a commentary on the time and what's going on, whereas Days of Future Past is a popcorn flick. You're going to have a good time. You're not worried about.
I thought it was boring.
Oh, you're crazy.
There was, I don't know. Apocalypse it's probably my least anticipated, and that's saying something. I mean, next year is crazy. Deadpool, Batman v Superman, Civil War, Gambit, Doctor Strange, Suicide Squad, X-Men Apocalypse. That's all we have next year.
And you get Star Wars right before all that.
Oh, yeah, and Star Wars. How could I forget?
I really think Deadpool is going to be the one that's going to change the game.
Oh, yeah, Deadpool looks awesome.
Which of those films is going to be the one where people go to and they're going to be like, another superhero movie? Really?
X-Men Apocalypse.
You think?
Yep.
In May, huh? All right. I think it may be Suicide Squad. I think
really?
You're nuts.
I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic.
Here's my thing. Deadpool's the R-rated, R-rated comedy. Okay? Batman v Superman is the 2 most recognized superheroes of all time.
That's going to be awesome. I mean, your grandma's going to go see that movie.
Oh, yeah. Captain America Civil War is the 2 probably modern most recognized superheroes fighting. And then we got Suicide Squad, which is a whole new take. Might be rated R, a new Joker. A villain-led movie, which we really haven't seen before. Doctor Strange, from what I've heard, is that trippy. It's going to be like a horror movie. Scott Derrickson, one of my favorite directors, is actually on that one. I think Fox, besides Deadpool, Gambit, and X-Men Apocalypse, I think will be the ones that people are like, another X-Men movie.
Now, did Scott Derrickson, what did he direct? Did he direct Sinister?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to recall. I knew he directed a horror franchise. And Sinister 2 comes out this week, I think.
Yeah, it comes out tomorrow. I'm actually planning on seeing it tomorrow.
He didn't direct Sinister 2, though.
Oh, he didn't? Okay.
He just wrote it.
Yeah, and he's a guy who kind of started out doing some commentary and stuff on film before he actually broke into film, because I remember him being on the Slash Film podcast and talking about that.
I've actually DM'd with Scott Derrickson, and we've had a few talks, and he's given me some tips on how to break into the directing world, and that was such a surreal moment. And he follows the page. He's favorite stuff, not even Doctor Strange related, and that just is insane, dude. It's a great moment.
That's really cool. It's nice to see when people have experienced success and they still can put themselves back to where they were just, a few years ago.
If I'm ever a director, I plan on doing stuff like that, like helping out people. I'm not going to try to get big-headed or whatever. Like, I'm going to share stuff on Twitter. Like, I'll take a selfie with the new character. Like, say I'm directing a Batman movie. I'll take a selfie with Batman, post it. I'm not going to be all, oh, you leaked it, you're in trouble, I'm going to cry. I mean, I'm going to just try to give my community what they want and interact with people. Like, if somebody asks me something on Twitter or Instagram, be like, yeah, that's what's going on, but try not to spoil anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting is like this new younger generation who are so like adept with social media as they grow up to become the entertainers and the filmmakers, hopefully like you will, of tomorrow, and how they will handle that kind of stuff. I think that would be really cool for the rest of us to see. But
yeah, that's my plan. Try to be more social media and share with people what's going on. I like it when movies keep secrets, but I also hate it when they're keeping secrets. Like, why can't Marvel show us Spider-Man right now? You don't have to show us footage. Just show us what he looks like. I hate when they try to do this. Like, you hype up your movie and you make the fans happy. So leaks don't happen when you do stuff like that.
Well, Parker, I think we got to move on from our discussion, but we'd love for you to stay on and talk a little Weekend Geek, with us. So,
my pleasure, man.
All right, cool. Casey, what'd you check out in your Weekend Geek this week?
Oh my gosh, do we have time? I don't know if we have time. Look at the stack I have. Do you see this? Can you see my screen?
No, I see Groot.
Oh, sorry, hold on. There we go.
Just do your kind of crash course in what you covered there.
Look at that. Oh my gosh.
Oh
okay.
My God.
So first up, Black Canary by David Fletcher and, oh my God, I'm going to butcher the artist's name. Is it Lena Wu? Brendan Fletcher. Oh, Annie Wu. Shit. Anyways, Black Canary, fantastic book. It's a DC book. It's out right now. It's really great. Basically, she's like the lead singer of this like extremely popular band. They're on tour. And in this issue, it's this awesome like mashup of her like singing at a show, and them and her fighting all these like villains on the way to the show that she's singing at. So like it juxtaposes like panels of her like at her performance, and then matches them with panels of the action of the battle she's having with these villains. So like one scene is like she is falling off the stage into a crowd, and in the same scene she's kicking off like a guy on a bike or something. So it like looks the same. It's just really cool like panel and layout style. It's really nice. If you're not reading Black Canary, shame on you. It's a fantastic book. You should really be reading it. And if you have like a young girl in your house, go buy it for her, 'cause it's awesome. Also, I read one that I don't know why I picked up, probably just because of the name, and Scotty Young's the writer on it, but it's Howard the Human. So basically, it's a Secret Wars tie-in book. I think it's only one issue, but it's Howard the Duck.
That's for a Secret Wars tie-in, only one issue.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
I think it is, because like at the end of the story it was like the end, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess it's only one shot. And I honestly I didn't hear of it. Like I don't recognize the cover or anything from any of the slits or anything, so it feels a little weird to me. Anyways, I picked it up. I really liked it. It's basically Howard the Duck, but he's a human and everyone else is animals. So like Felicia Hardy is like a cat, and Kurt Connors is like a lizard, but he's like a bar owner. And it's all so everyone's just anthropomorphic animals except for him. And it's this cool like detective story where he basically tricks a bunch of people into getting what he wants at the end, and I really, really liked it. And if you want a cool one-shot story by Scotty Young that's funny and is this cool like anthropomorphic like detective story, check it out. It came out this week. It's pretty good. I also read a Jeff Johns, as we mentioned earlier, book, Justice League 43.
I hear it's really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I just love Jeff Johns when he gets to play around in the DC universe, and it's especially nice now since nothing's connected anymore. He can do whatever the fuck he wants, and it doesn't have to tie into anything. So he can this whole Dark Side War story is just him going balls nuts. Like Batman's like this omni god. Superman is like is now like a negative like Superman. It's just a weird thing. Him and like Lex Luthor are on like this buddy cop like thing where like they're like stuck alone in like apocalypse. And there's this one cool scene where like Superman's like, oh, I'm becoming. He's like, because there's no sun or anything. He's like, I'm becoming human, and Lex Luthor's like, dude, you'll never be human. So it's this cool like moment where like they're still like hating each other, but they have to like work together. I really, really like it. If you're not reading Justice League or anything Jeff Johns is doing at DC, you really should be, because everything he pretty much puts out is fucking gold. What else did I read this week?
It was a
go
busy
ahead.
week, man. You laid some dough down this week.
I know, I did. I actually a lot of stuff from last week too. So I'm caught up on Korvac Saga. Me and Everett were talking about this. Everett's a writer for Geeks with Wives. We were talking about it. Maybe one of the best tie-ins for Secret Wars. It's this really cool story where like Michael Korvac, who if you guys don't know, he's a Guardians villain. I bet you he shows up in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He's like this omni-powerful, like universal, like being, and he's like this ruler. He's one of the like governors of this of a battle world town or whatever, and everyone in his town is like becoming like these giant monsters, and they're trying to figure out why. So it's this cool kind of like detective story, but it has like monsters in it, and like this, and Michael Korvac, who's this really awesome like villain character. Another great Secret Wars book. I'm gonna be real done. I'm gonna be done fast, Brad. I promise. Another great Secret Wars book.
Oh, we're listening. Don't worry.
Is Civil War. Maybe just as good. Well, so far, maybe just as good as Mark Millar's Civil War, but basically, this Civil War by Charles Soule and art by Lyndall Francis Yu, who the art is amazing in this book. It's so fucking good. I don't know how they pull it off.
I read the first issue, and that was my favorite Secret Wars tie-in book.
It's really great. Yeah, I love the premise behind it. It's fantastic. I love the idea that like Iron Man and Batman are still fighting, and like Peter Parker is pissed off at Iron Man, and like Iron Man's like holding his family like away from him. Like there's all this nuance and hatred and all this cool stuff, and like Spider-Man is like the new Hawkeye and has like wings and stuff. It's fucking awesome. I really like it. Like I said, it rivals Mark Millar's Civil War. It's really, really good. And I feel like the problem, and Brad, maybe you agree with me, I feel like the problem that a lot of these Civil War books or a lot of these Secret War books are going to have is that they're really fucking good stories, but nobody's reading them because there's so many of them.
Yeah,
like,
you definitely have to pick and choose. Like, I was reading a ton of them, and I had to cut loose some of them. I mean, like, I was reading a lot of the X books, and they were so good. It's not like your typical event where most of the tie-ins are just crap. They were all good, and some were great. And I kept, like, Renew Your Vows and Civil War and a few of those titles and like Planet Hulk, but I had to drop some of them. There were like a ton of X-Men tie-ins. Old Man Logan was really good too, for sure.
Yeah, I'm still getting that one. And House of M came out this week, which I didn't get.
I didn't get that one. I wanted to, but I was like, no.
Hey guys, quick question. I've been thinking this for a little bit now. Do you think we could see a Secret Wars in the MCU, maybe Phase 4, Phase 5?
Absolutely.
A logical step after Thanos?
Absolutely. And I think that's the only I think that's the only place they could really go for another big movie. Although I do feel like their last like 5 tie-ins have all kind of been like, oh, these are potential movie ideas. Like especially
I was thinking that. You continue.
Yeah, what was the last one, Brad, where they like
Original Sin
got killed? Original Sin. That one screams fucking movie script.
Yeah.
So much so that even down to like the teams, like you'll notice like there's no X-Men except for like Frost is there. There's no Fantastic Four in any of those books. So like that one really feels like.
I think that's what makes Secret Wars the best event they've done in a long, long time. Is it was written as a comic event first. It wasn't written as something that, I mean, could it make a fantastic movie? Absolutely, with the right characters and directors, but it is a massive, it's the biggest story that since I started reading comics when the first House of M came out, and that's the biggest story I've read in Marvel. I know there's been other big ones, but this one encompasses everything, for sure, and I only read one comic. I actually read more than one, but I'm only going to talk about one. I read X-Men 92, number 2. I'm really not impressed by this book. Casey, have you read this X-Men
So much
92?
text in it. There's so much writing.
It's like it's a 90s comic.
It feels like a 90s comic, yeah.
It will take you a few minutes to sit down and read it. It's not one you're going to knock out like that. And it's kind of weird because they brought in Cassandra Nova, who was the villain in the Grant Morrison all new, not all new. It was just the new X-Men run, like 2002, 2003. And that's weird because Cassandra Nova is also in the E is for Extinction, which is the spinoff of that X-Men book. And she just is putting the X-Men through all these different. Basically, they're in a simulation, almost kind of like the Danger Room. She's kidnapped them.
I feel like they dropped the ball on that one because it could have been Mojo, and it would have felt way more like the '90s cartoon, like it was supposed to feel. I don't think she was ever a character in the '90s cartoon, right?
Yeah, it doesn't feel organic at all. And they're basically like at this place that rehabilitates like evil mutants, and the X-Men get lured into there, and they have to be put in this, I don't know, kind of mind trip where she's messing with them. And it's just one thing that makes me kind of mad is I was looking at one of the solicits this week, and it said X-Men 92 Unlimited. Meaning this is not having a ending. This is going to be an ongoing after Secret Wars. And that's definitely not one I'll be adding to my pull list.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that, too, depends on the creative team behind it. Like,
yeah, it could get better for sure. I like this idea. I mean, there's cool parts. It's a great aesthetic. I would generally like to read the characters because this was my first, like, version of them, like you growing up on that cartoon. But it's just like
I think the other problem,
pretentious.
You know what? Okay, I think two things. I think the X-Men Unlimited may be the Infinity comic. I don't think it's a full retail. I think it may be digital only.
Oh, okay.
I think the problem with that comic too is it's an Infinity comic, so like I think they release it in Infinity like once a week, but then they collect it all in an issue.
Oh,
and so when we read it, we get all those issues. I could be wrong, but it's not like you can't use. There's no digital code on it, right? There's no free digital one. I don't think there is, and I think that's why it's because it's an Infinity comic.
There's not. You're right. Yeah, and there's always.
I think that's why it feels weird too, because I think it's supposed to be read as like those Infinity chunks. If they're not as long or big.
Thor's number 2. I'm a little late on reading this one, but man, this continues to be one of my favorite Secret Wars tie-ins besides Civil War. I mean, like we've said, it's a cop procedural. We've talked about this book, but just seeing the villains and the different incarnations of characters and how Secret Wars is starting to tie together when things were so fragmented. Say what you want to about Jonathan Hickman, he can be a bit pretentious and he's not the easiest guy to talk to sometimes at a convention, but guy knows what he's doing, and he had these threads planted and seeds planted since he started writing Fan 4 way back when.
Brad, you know what would make a great fucking TV show is if this takes some balls. This takes some serious balls. But if Marvel and Netflix did like a Battle World anthology,
that's a dream.
We got like 2 episodes of like all these different because that Thor's one, like that's something I love to see like on on TV. That's a perfect just make a cop procedural show, but make it all with Chris Hemsworth and guys that control lightning with a hammer. That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, they'll air the first episode after the Panthers win the Super Bowl, so I can't wait for that to happen. So
it's probably
nothing that's gonna happen ever, but a man can drink.
I need like a drinking sound effect.
We don't have that. Unfortunately we're limited on our sound effects, but I don't think we're gonna have time for news because we're pushed here on the East Coast. Do you want to tell us one thing you checked out about your Week in Geek, Parker?
Do you want to do news or Week in Geek?
Well, news, we're going to have to cut news short tonight. We're not going to be able to cover it, unfortunately, because we got to keep the time down. We don't want to go over. But Anything special you checked out this week?
The last thing I checked out was Fantastic Four, and y'all seem to have covered that one. So the one before that had to be Southpaw. Have y'all seen Southpaw yet? Thank you.
I have not seen it. I really wanted to see it, but from what I heard, it's not as good as the previews indicate for a Jake Gyllenhaal film. Enlighten us.
I read the reviews, and like I sat through them, and I don't see the problem. Like I think it was crazy good, dude. Like I rarely cry in movies, and this movie got me almost crying a few times. I'd say it's on par with Rocky, and I don't see why it's 58% on Rotten Tomatoes when I think it deserves a 90%. And I rated it like a 9.7.
You guys want to hear something terrible?
Yes,
I'm not a huge fan of Rocky.
I mean, they're dated.
Have you watched all of them, or are you just judging Rocky?
Fuck yeah, I have. I can't sit to that shit. Like they come on to like cable every once in a while, and, like I can't watch this. I can't do it.
Have y'all seen the Creed trailer?
Oh yeah, I cannot wait to see.
Crazy good.
See, Michael B. Jordan's gonna rebound from Fan 4 with that.
Okay, really quick, this dropped today, and if y'all want to cover it, I really was excited for covering this one. Have you all heard of Michael Shannon's Flippers?
Yeah, that was on the news that we had. I don't. Is he gonna be a penguin hybrid? Like what the hell?
I think it's just a miscommunication on his part. Like I don't think these are actual flippers. So like, and if this is true, like so when they filmed the Avengers, like there's shots out there of like the stunt guy, and he has like these giant prosthetic arms that he's like wielding around, and they have like remotes on them, like that can move the fingers and stuff. And I think that's what he's talking about. Like I don't think like he has like I don't think he's wearing flippers unless he's Bizarro, which would make way more sense anyway.
Have y'all know who El Mayimbe is?
No.
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah, you do.
He's a scoop.
Yeah, you do.
This is a possible spoiler. He's about 50-50 on his scoops. But he put a few days ago.
Oh, yeah. El Maybe is what I call him. The guy from Latino Review.
Yep. He put something along the lines of, during the final fight in Batman v Superman with Doomsday, that Wonder Woman's going to cut off his hand, and in its place is going to grow like a blade, right?
Oh, my God.
That's what he's put. So I heard flippers, and I was thinking a flipper could be kind of the shape of a blade. That's what I thought of, but
Aquaman gives him flippers magically somehow.
Here's my thing, though. Like, I just don't imagine that. What's his name? The actor that's playing this guy.
Michael Shannon.
I don't imagine he's the one wearing, like doing the fight scenes and doing all the stunt work as Doomsday, unless Doomsday has some significant like lines or role to speak. Like, why would they call him in just for like action shots? You know what I mean? Like,
y'all read
very weird.
Comics when Superman has like the Doomsday virus, right?
No, I did not read.
I didn't read that one.
I didn't read.
Oh, well, there's like a virus in the Kryptonians. So I'm thinking, y'all put Arkham Asylum?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, in the beginning, there's those proto-titans that are like gruesome, like half of them are grown, half of them aren't.
Right.
In the end, there's the really good-looking big titans, like the formula's complete. So I'm thinking Luthor experiments on Zod, unlocks his gene to make him kind of Doomsday, but it's a very very abomination almost of Doomsday, not the real Doomsday. It's half Zod. And then later on in the DCEU, we get the full-on Doomsday, like the real killer of Superman.
Yeah, I that's a great theory. I just don't. What was that?
That's how excited I am for that theory. I mean, that's a good like speculation and a coverage by Parker, but good God, they're reaching at this point. Just make Doomsday Doomsday. Don't bring back the guy who was General Zod, for God's sakes.
I have to agree with you on that one.
I'm sorry for going on that rant, Parker. I didn't mean to crap all over that.
I think if you do bring back General Zod, though, like, why not go the Bizarro route? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why not take his DNA and make this, like, weird, dumb, like, monster character, Frankenstein character?
That makes sense.
That makes way more sense. Way more sense than turning him into Doomsday.
Make him a brainwashed, stupid zombie version of Zod. That's what I'd be fine with that one. Just bring back Zod as a stupid zombie brainwashed version of Zod.
Yeah, you can call him Dawes.
Okay.
Well, in Gauze we trust, and I think that's going to wrap it up for this edition with Geeks with Wives and Capes, because it is late on the East Coast, my friends. So I just want to thank Parker for being on. Parker, tell the good people where they can find more of you.
Okay, I'm just gonna thank y'all too. I had a really great time tonight. You can find me at SuperBroMovies on Instagram, Twitter, Vine recently, YouTube, pretty much the whole thing. If you follow me and you're coming from this podcast, let me know so we can communicate with the Geeks and Wives. I want to come back actually later because I had a really good time with this group, and if y'all would like to have me back, I'd love to come back eventually.
For sure, yeah, we'll definitely have you back, and we'll try to get more into news. We just got so kind of caught up in just wanting to get to know you and your background, your journey. So next time we can just hit the ground running and just get into things. But
we had a great conversation tonight. We honestly, it's kind of we very did similar to what my page does. We had a conversation. We talked about what's going on. We weren't pretentious. We just it kind of happened. It just felt natural. That's the best thing we can do.
yeah, that's the way it is. Just geeking out over the things we love, just to kind of get away from the pressures of life sometimes, and that's what we're all about with Geeks with Wives. But before he becomes the next Josh Trank or hopefully the next Colin Trevorrow,
Stop using that example, Brad. It's a terrible example.
Hey, I like Josh Trank.
Say any other director, any other one.
Chronicle was awesome.
Just go ahead and get on the ground floor with Parker's stuff, because he does have some good coverage, and he's willing to interact with this fan base, so that's cool. Parker, best of luck to you in all future endeavors, and you're welcome on this podcast, or on the entertainment podcast too. I'm sure Everett would love to have you on anytime, so thanks for being on.
Really appreciate it, guys. This was awesome. Great experience.
Absolutely. All right, Casey, where can we find you?
Geekswithwives.com, at the Comics Kid, Comics COMIX. Where else? At GWW Capes Crew. That's always a good spot. And for my recommendation this week, everyone should be reading Batman from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. Like, fucking amazing.
That's a no-brainer.
It's just the last issue that came out, issue 43, even just keeps getting better and better, even without Bruce Wayne in the suit. It's still an amazing comic. I know we all were scared and worried, but don't worry, everyone. It's turned out pretty good. What else? So yeah, make sure you're going to Geeks with Wives all the time, because that's where everything cool is happening. We just got interviews posted up with Mark Waid. Who else? The creators of Power Up, Kate Leth and Matt Cummings. Where's another interview up there, Brad? Who else is it?
Is it from San Diego, or is it more recent?
No, I think it was more recent. Oh, I don't remember. But there's tons of stuff going on up there. So make sure you guys are checking all that stuff out all the time. And that's it. And Geeks with Wives, at Geeks with Wives, of course.
And as for me, you can find me Twitter, Instagram, PlayStation Network, at The Real Brad Bell, REEL Brad Bell. For my recommendation this week, I'm going to go ahead and recommend Ballers on HBO. If you're not watching it, watch it on DVD, watch it on HBO Go. If you have that, if you subscribe to that, even if you're not an NFL fan, extremely entertaining show that may not leave a lasting impression, but it's really good for the 30 minutes it lasts, right, Casey?
Yeah, it's the entourage of the football world.
For sure. Entourage of the sports world. I think that's going to wrap it up. Until next time, we are out, and as always, we will catch you on the geek side.